So like I said before, whenever you're dealing with these big sheets of aluminum here, if you clamp a straight edge to them, makes moving them around a lot. It's not easy by any means, but it makes it less difficult. Let's put it that way, because you don't get that big warp through it. So I'm really kind of in a pinch here. I'm running out of space. I'm going to try get this thing set up here. I got the sheet set up on the boat. You wonder what that piece of rope there is. That's what's going to keep this thing from falling off while I can get it tacked in place. Because like I said before, it doesn't take much to hold this thing once it's there. You got to get it there. Alright, so see, it's secured. It's pretty solid too. Just by doing that, you can see I've got my sheet on top of the boat as it's going to sit. And then right here in this transition point, it'll be somewhere right in this area, is where it'll have to dive out. And I'll take this sheet and I'll wrap it right around the boat. And I'll put a tack up high. And then I can work away and maybe put another tack down low here where that transition is, about right there. And then that'll give me a scribe line. Because you got to remember, I'm only cutting, this is all flat, this first 15 foot. So I'm really only cutting this last 9-10 feet. So we'll get that kind of set up, squared up. I'm going to throw a time lapse up of that. Once we get that done, we're cooking with gas. So. All right, so there you have it. That time lapse took me just under 10 minutes. So I ended up just cutting the other side in place. It's not that big of a deal. I still have to take the side off to weld on my square tubing, but you can really get an eye and you can really follow that that line of that boat by cutting it in place. Which, like I said, there's pros and cons to both, but it's the second one I've cut in place, and it's really not that bad. I'm using just a good jigsaw with good aluminum blades for it. So I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. So you can see here, there's the side. Of course, it's just knocked free there, but that's the side. It comes down to that point right there. You can make out that Sharpie mark. It's exactly the same point as I made on this side. All right, so got the side on. Got it tacked back in. So we got the piece of 2x2 square there for our sides, holding off. That's where it ends up looking real nice for our weld there. And got it tacked back all up. It's in position. So now what I'll do is I'll go back through there, and it's hard to tell because it's back up against the wall, but so I'll just kind of demonstrate here. But I'll go through and I'll tack it in just a few points so I don't get any kind of oil can to it. And then any places that I need to just kind of tweak it, I've just taken a wood wedge block and I'll just kind of make my fit up real nice and tight. You can see you can't even see daylight through that side. And then just right there where it transitions from the cut to the actual flat, I'll just take a little wedge block in there and just kind of make my fit up real nice. But everything looks real good. The boat's sitting just perfect level here. Still always checking the level. That's 6 foot level, and I mean that's perfect. So looks real nice. Like I said, here you can see my offset for my welds real nice. Everything's tacked up in there. So anyway, I'm gonna go through here and I'll weld it. And as I'm welding, you can see on this boat here as I weld, I'm running like 8-inch beads, just where I can stay comfortable. This is all naturally under the water line, so it's got to be good welds and stay comfortable. And then I just keep jumping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That way I don't put a ton of heat all in one spot. Overlapping my welds about a 1/2 inch, and you know, running this 5346 wire with this this is a 5052 side to a 5086 bottom. Everything's welding up real nice. It looks really good. So real happy with the way it's welding up. So anyway, gonna get that welded in, and then once I get that done, like I said, I can weld up the seam and I can knock out these supports, and then we're really making a boat.
All right, so I'm gonna walk you guys through kind of what I've done here as far as getting the bunks ready. It's better, I think, for me to just walk you through than try to show you all the steps, because you know, it's a lot of repetition, but you know, it's actually kind of important. You know, it's got to be right. The boat's got to sit, you know, flat on the bunks to be able to ride smooth, and you know, you don't want any highs or lows, and you know, you go to all this trouble and you don't want it to be slamming into the fenders first time you set the boat on the boat, or the boat on the trailer rather. So there's a lot of things to really think of and consider. So I'll just kind of walk you through here. So what I've done here is I've got the fender set here, and I know that this is the height the fender is going to be. Okay, so my boat is actually going to come out onto the fender about another 5-6 inches on each side. You know, so what I've got to do is I've got to account for that whenever I put my uprights for my bunks, because if I go too low, you know, the boat's naturally going to hit the side of this fender. Now I don't want to go too high, because I want to be able to get this thing off the trailer into the water. So you got to kind of find that happy medium, and you've got to kind of do it in an order where you know what your fender height is, and then kind of work back. So that was the reasoning for doing the fenders first. So I got the fenders on here, and then what I did was I took a level, and I leveled over, and I found you know, where my height was going to be. And then since this trailer, since I built it on a 15-degree angle, and the boat is a 15-degree V, I could just find my point and come up. So that's what I did. Now I'm gonna put, there's gonna be a bunker right there, and then a bunker right there, and they're gonna be treated 2x4s, and that should support it. I'm gonna support it all the way across these 4 cross braces. That'll give rigidity to this trailer, as well as support this boat through the whole length of it, basically. You know, it's gonna be a big heavy boat, but you start breaking it up into, you know, 16 different points, and the down pressure is go way down. The down pressure goes way down whenever you start talking, you know, even if it's going to be a 4,000 or 5,000 pound boat, you divide that up by 16, you know, your down pressure is a lot less. So what I've done here is I went ahead and I've cut all these pieces. These are my uprights here, and these uprights are going to sit on the trailer like so, and they're gonna follow the 15-degree angle. So I've got all those cut, and then to attach my bunks, I've ripped up a whole bunch of 3/16 plates that are gonna get welded like so. So that's gonna be welded like that. Then this thing's gonna be flipped down over there, and then welded on here to the cross support, and then I'll have good meat there that I can countersink and screw my bunks to, and it should be a pretty nice setup. So a little bit of measuring, a little bit of thinking, a little bit of figuring, and you know, now I'm gonna weld all this stuff up, and then I'll take my my laser line, and I'll get me a couple of points, and then I'll make sure I got a good straight line through there, or I could even do it with a string. It doesn't really matter at this point. I could string it, get my good points, and maybe snap a line with a chalk line, and then go ahead and weld all these in. And then my bunks, I'll be ready to attach my bunks. And then the only thing left is you know, do the front, the bow. I've got my winch, and then simply wire it and run my brake lines, and then the trailer's done. So anyway, that's kind of the process here that I've been going through. pretty critical on a boat this, you know, this heavy. There's going to be, you know, quite a bit of down pressure on here, but this is good solid tubing. This is 1/8 inch tubing, so I'm not worried at all about it. Like I said, you divide it up by 16 and there's not going to be a lot of pressure on each one. So I'm going to get to welding. I've got 16 of these to make up, and then we're going to get laid out and get everything welded on the trailer. I just got everything all welded up, and I got a line snap, so I'll show you what I got here, and then we're going to go ahead and weld on all these braces and uprights for the bunkers. So anyway, I've got there's my pile of 16 right there. They're all welded up and ready to go. Plates on top. So what I did was I came down here to the first cross brace, and then went down there to the last cross brace, measured up for my 2, and then I snapped a line right through the rest of them on both sides. And then I came back, and since I'm using 2-inch tubing, and this is 3-inch square here, I came in and marked off. You can see there and there's my line. Everything's going down, everything's going down, going down, going down. So this should ensure that this is nice and straight. You know, if it's off a 1/4 inch, you're not going to see it, but at the same time, you know, you go through all this trouble, and if you know, once the boat's off the trailer and sitting there on the ramp, you know, you want it to look nice and true and everything else. So anyway, gonna go ahead, and I got everything ready. I'm gonna get these strung out here and then start welding them on, and then I can go through and I can go ahead and attach my boards and countersink my my bunkers, and then actually screw through it, and I'll have bunkers on this thing. So